Hello, I'm Lady Juniper, and today I want to talk about the new released videos about the next patch of Fontaine. I'm so excited, and oh my gosh, I totally called what was going to happen in the Archon quest. I think. Back when Fontaine came out, in 4.0, I did do a video where I predicted how the Archon quest would go, and I didn't end up releasing that video because I kinda felt like I went off on too many tangents, and I just felt people wouldn't be interested. So what we're gonna do today, guys, is we're gonna go watch that video and see how correct I actually was. Did I predict the events of the Archon quest, or some of the events of the Archon quest? I'm not sure. I recorded this months ago. I vaguely remember the gist. I might put some overlays where appropriate. Let's see. I can't remember what I said, but I remember one thing I said, which is 100% accurate to what we have seen in the trailers. I'm excited. Let's go. Okay, here we are. As you can see, I recorded this, I think, on the 29th of August, I believe, and it's 48 minutes long. That's a lot of waffling. We probably won't be watching all of it, but that's fine. The important stuff, I think, at the beginning. I might watch through some more by myself and just put in anything I think that's relevant. Let's see what we say. Let's have the intro. Hello, I'm Lady Juniper, and today I want to talk about Fontaine's story, and we will be covering lots of story spoilers today, so if you're not into this, you're probably not going to be interested in this video. But today I want to talk about the Archon quest, as well as a few of world quests and a few things I have observed and some theories I have been working on in my head. I'm gonna put out a few little theories about what I think might happen in the Archon quest based off of what we have seen so far. But Fontaine is probably the juiciest area yet for world lore. The world quests are full of so much information, and I'm afraid I'm probably not smart enough to put it all together for you. So I'm just going to do some general things I have observed. If there's anything that I raise that you think is particularly interesting and you think should be expanded on further, comment down below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. I don't do a lot of lore or theory stuff because, like I said, I'm not super smart like a lot of the lore theorists are. But I do have, I feel like, some good observations sometimes. So, you know, if you like that sort of stuff, just let me know. I'll do more of it. Because people's brains all work differently, and the things that I pick up on in Fontaine will be something completely different that you pick up in Fontaine. So let's work this out together, shall we? I'm going to start with the Archon quest, because hopefully everybody's done the Archon quest. We've all played it yet. So if you've got it this far, this isn't really story spoilers. I'm not really going to talk too much actually about the story of the Archon quest. I want to talk more about where I think the Archon quest is going to go. Now, the Archon quest, if you didn't notice, or maybe you've never played them before, was pretty much a tribute to Ace Attorney. I've seen some people criticize these two chapters because of how they were presented and how the information was presented, but it's such a tribute to the Ace Attorney games and how they play. Like, even the music that they use during these chapters is a reference to Ace Attorney. If you're not very familiar with the game, it's like when you're doing the investigation scene, it's pretty much the same music. Well, not the same, obviously. I'm going to put the music underneath this as a soundtrack of this video. So if you listen carefully enough, you'll hear what I mean. But you can see where I'm going here, right? But the backing tune is very similar to the iconic Ace Attorney soundtrack. It was so cool starting the Archon quest in here. It was so incredibly cool to stand in the opera house listening to a soundtrack that's so similar to the Ace Attorney soundtrack. It was just incredible, and all the clue gathering and stuff is kind of like tribute to that as well. I know like the trial mechanics is completely different, but this is a different game. The base elements were there, and just like in Ace Attorney, you can see a very similar story structure, the way the first and second act went. If you haven't played an Ace Attorney game before, pretty much the way they go is the first chapter is the opening. It introduces you to like core elements that don't seem very important when you start the game, but are called back on in later chapters. So we had the voices at the fountain, we had the introduction of the disappearance women's case, we had tying into the Fatui with the disappearances, and the revelation that Lenny and Lynette were members of the House of the Half. We had all these like introduction elements to set up the story in the first chapter, as well as introducing you to the core like mechanics of the trial system, which is very cool. Usually in Ace Attorney, the first trial is quite short, quite sweet, because it's introducing you to how to play the game. Ace Attorney veterans will tell you that like some of the game is a little bit more complicated in the first trial, but it's setting the premise, it's telling you how to perform. There is no Mia in Genshin. There's no person being possessed by a ghost to guide us. But otherwise, it was very similar, like story structure. Second chapter obviously references stuff from the first chapter, again like they do in Ace Attorney, but yeah, I know that's like Genshin story stuff too, but it calls back, it brings stuff from the previous trial into the following trial, which will be, I predict, what will happen in the third chapter. We will have another trial. It will call back to things that we have already seen in the first and second trial. It will probably hone into things, especially in the first chapter, because Ace Attorney always calls back to the first chapter, always. And probably for to be stuff, I imagine we'll be defending Child against the Acquisition. Okay, I'm going to pause it here. So this is me assuming, because this is recorded before the next live stream, assuming there would be another trial. But of course we went to Meripede instead to try and find Child, which I wasn't expecting at the time. But my points here are still valid. While we didn't have a traditional court case in Meripede, we did have the court system in place. In the last interaction with Risley, you were made to do the court mini-game, which is the replacement in that chapter for the court system. It was a bit, like, it did surprise me because it did kind of disrupt the structure that they had going for the Ace Attorney game structure, but we do have more chapters in the Archon quest than we traditionally do have in the Ace Attorney games. And you could argue here that the Archon quests 3 and 4 are kind of like an interlude chapter leading up to the third and fourth trial. But I feel like we can count as Meripede as its own trial, because sometimes in the Ace Attorney games the third trial is specifically quite unique. It seems a bit unrelated sometimes to the overall story, and in that sense Meripede could feel a bit unrelated because you spend a lot of it in prison, it does call back to the Fatui, like I said, with Lenny and Lynette and Femine. It calls back to Child. It calls back to the missing persons with the primordial water, and obviously the primordial water playing a big role in chapter 4. So I feel like I am technically correct, just because I thought there'd be another trial. I am a little bit wrong here, but I hope you can see where this is going. The accusations held against him that he's involved with the disappearances, but we'll see. We'll see. I suspect we'll be helping child out of jail. Technically true, because he went missing. And then fourth chapter. I don't know how many chapters you'll get to, with Fontaine. I imagine 4 to 5. Ace Attorney games have 4 trials, so I suspect we'll have 4 chapters with Fontaine because it is very much tribute act. It so is. If you've ever played the Ace Attorney games, you know what I mean, because there's so many references to the game. I hope you can also understand by this point why I decided to cut this video and not release it, because I talk so much about Ace Attorney, and I felt like I probably have lost people by this point, but I've probably lost people now in the first 2 chapters. It was so amazing because I love those games. I love those games so much. Sorry, I'm nerding out a little bit here. But the 4th chapter is going to be the most interesting chapter and the one I'm most excited for, because anyone who has played Ace Attorney can tell you in the 4th chapter there is always a chapter that revolves around the prosecutor or the judge, who is brought in as either the accused, or there is a reveal that makes them the suspect, and you either have to defend them or you have to do a turnabout where you get someone else who's usually on the prosecution team in trouble. You see that. I'm trying to think if there's an Ace Attorney game that doesn't do that, but no, I'm pretty sure they all do it. Maybe the first one doesn't. I'm pretty sure Miles gets into trouble with something in the first game. It's been a while since I played it, but that's the general theme in Ace Attorney. The 4th chapter, someone, prosecutor or judge, is involved in the final trial as the accused, or you've got to switch it to them being the bad guy kind of thing. I imagine it's more like in Ace Attorney where Miles got accused for a murder and we had to get him innocent kind of thing. Yeah, I felt like that, and in that way it's either going to be Nouvellette or Furina who comes underneath the judgment and will have to get them out of trouble. There it is. There's my prediction. Right there. I am correct. I was correct. It matches Ace Attorney. The structure of Ace Attorney. The final trial is Furina is the guilty and has been sentenced to death. Obviously, I couldn't predict that. But traditionally in Ace Attorney games, if you're found guilty of murder, you are executed. There is the death penalty. Yeah, I think. I'm trying to remember if that's the core game or if that was the Victorian one specifically, actually. Because I remember the Victorian one, which is the most recent one I've played. All the people who are found guilty are sentenced to death. I'm not sure everyone is in the original games. I think some of them are put on death row. I think it depends what they did. But yeah, 100% correct. What a turnabout. Who could have seen this coming? Me, apparently, because, like I said, it does follow loosely the Ace Attorney story structure. Obviously, we've got 6 chapters instead of 4 chapters. So, theoretically, we could have 2 trials in the final 2 chapters, because Meripede might not count. But I think the final 2 chapters is 1 trial. It's going to be probably the Primordial Sea rising up in Chapter 5, with the trial of Furina, and in Chapter 6 we're probably going to have to fix it, which follows Genshin's story structure, right? Though they do tend to have the big finale in the final chapter, so who knows? Fontaine has been really interesting as far as story goes. Like, they've clearly learnt a lot with the storytelling as they've grown and developed in Genshin, and like so far it's been really solid. The world quests have been really solid. It all ties really neatly together. You can see from the trailer that the Narkson world quest ties back into the Archon quest. Like if you didn't know, this dog here in Furina's teaser trailer is Seymour, or should be Seymour. We see him briefly in Nouvellec's story quest, where forget his name, mad scientist robot guy sends him back towards the opera house to report to Nouvellette. We also interact with him in the world quests. And if you've done the world quest, you should have met Seymour. He's with one of the Mezzalines and was swallowed by the dragon Elenars, I think. Yeah, Elenars. Like it's all tying back together. Also, this guy. This room is the Narkison Ordo, if you didn't recognise it. There's several scenes in this trailer that takes place in the Narkison Ordo and not in the Opera House, though they'll try and make you believe it's the Opera House. I'm pretty sure this is Elaine in a robot body. It's like a theory that Serendrome, or however you pronounce her name, is Elaine, and he's the big robot behind her, and the girl is a puppet. And with the release of Furina's trailer, people think, well, I think that she may have absorbed Marianne's memories and she is part Marianne, and the doll that is the marionette is a puppet of Marianne, which means we could have in game 3-4 different Mariannes. You have Anne, the Oceanid, Marianne, the Oceanid that thinks she's Marianne, Folocos, who probably contains the memories of Marianne and might have been created in the moment of the final fight of Narcosans, and Marianne, who is is the marionette. 4 Mariannes, which is ridiculous if you think about it, but quite possible, because my theory now is Rene succeeded in doing what he wanted to do, which, if you didn't know, is he wanted to absorb the entire population of Fontaine into one body of water, all their subconsciousnesses into a hive mind. And he did that because he believed that the prophecy couldn't be prevented. But I think he succeeded in doing that 500 years ago when the catalysm happened, because that's when Eleanor's happened, and no one in Fontaine is aware that he succeeded, because they are all memories within the waters of Fontaine. Because in Furina's trailer we see everything's underwater, and it's quite possible that Fontaine is just a mirage of itself that Furina has created with the power of the Gnosis and the Oratrice combined. Like, the Oratrice is probably real and working, and the power source, the iridium inside it, is powering the illusion that is Fontaine. Anyway, where was I going? Yes, I believe Rene succeeded in his plan of merging everybody into water. He caused the flood to happen because it's prophesized. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, which lots of people forget is a thing. Self-fulfilling prophecies, you're told this prophecy and you try and prevent the prophecy, and by doing so you cause the prophecy to happen. Rene knew about this prophecy, was convinced it was going to happen, and so he tried to prevent it from happening by merging everybody's souls into water, thus flooding Fontaine. And to try and keep Fontaine alive, Furina probably took all the memories in the water and made a simulation, a mirage of Fontaine, making everyone think it is real, but it's not. It's just something that's sustained by the Oratrice and the Gnosis, and to remove either of them would probably cause Fontaine to cease to exist. You might recall the theatre play from the summer event, which I think is a reference to what happened to Furina. It has a line in there about how the bottle no longer sheds light like it used to, but the light it shines can shine outside the bottle to wherever in the world, giving the world light, which I think is like a metaphor to how Fontaine can exist how it is, as a illusion of memories. And I'm just finding this really distracting. Let's go back here so I can talk. Fontaine is just an illusion of, or it is an illusion, but all these people really do exist in the waters. They are real people in the waters. They just are memories and personalities in the water that are brought to life by the power of the oratories. And I don't know if Nouvelette is aware or not. He might be aware, which is why he knows he can't take the Gnosis back. Or he might not be aware, but some part of him is aware, because I feel like some sort of memory manipulation has happened to Nouvelette or something. But yeah, I think Renee succeeded. I think Furina has recreated Fontaine as it was. She's probably borrowing Nouvelette's, the oratories, and her self-power to maintain it. So there's her on the outside and her on the inside playing the role of the archon, and it's just kind of more like a puppet. But she might be controlling or is not controlling, unsure. Why is the primordial sea trying to destroy it? I think because it's unnatural and the world of Teyvat is being slowly destroyed anyway, and because it's the power of the abyss, it's more powerful than the mirage, and the mirage might be just like a weak point in the world, like weaker than the world in general, thus making it an easier point to breach, perhaps, which is why the waters and the abyss can get in easier, because this place is less real than Teyvat is. I feel like we've gotten off topic of the video we were looking at. But I'm not sure I say anything else in this video that is as interesting, as on point. I think it's just a lot of rambling. I'll have a quick look. Is there anything else worth mentioning? We've had I have predicted that Furina would be on trial. Yay, I did that. I predicted it. I was right. I suspect out of the two, it might be Nouvelette, because he is the Chief Justice and we have a better connection with him so far, and that maybe we'll be fighting against Furina. But I feel like the whole aim of the chapters in Fontaine is to fix the machine so that Fontaine isn't sinking. I was incorrect by Nouvelette, but I think I am correct about the machine, because people have pointed back that the oratories represents the spinning wheel from Bottle Land, and if Bottle Land is an allegory for the Fontaine Archon quest, then it indicates that the oratories is missing components to work to its full extent. And you got to remember, like, before we came to Fontaine, Furina was sending out scientists to develop more power substitutes to enhance the power that the oratories could hold. So yeah, I think the oratories is missing something. I have a theory it's actually missing the dragon's authority from it. I think it might have the Gnosis, but I don't think it might have the dragon's authority, which might be another reason why Nouvelette knows he can't just take it back, because he knows it's not here in the first place, it's somewhere else. But why is Fontaine sinking? Why indeed? Because it's underwater. Which is, I think, reflected a lot in the world quests. So shall we move on to them? So I don't know how many of you have done the Nazarascuras, although I'm never saying that word ever again, world quests. But there's some very interesting things here. Great dreams were once born here, and countless souls too melted. Now one could say that's because Renee melted a bunch of people in water. Or one could say this is because where Renee led his project to sink all of Fontaine, and we're pretty sure now that Fontaine is 100% underwater and all the souls and memories are in the waters of Fontaine. Who could say? dissolved into water, we could say. I haven't done all the world quests, but the Ordo ones I think are the most important world quests to do. There are 3 that I've definitely done, which is the Institute. I've done this one, the Book of Revealing. I don't have all the chapters, and of course, Anapolysis, which is a really good one as well. These are the 3 core world quests in Fontaine, which you should definitely do. The most interesting of which is the Book of Revealing. If you might have not been here yet, you need to talk to this little mausoleum here, Cantuilla. She's not highlighted as with a quest marker or anything in the village, but if you go talk to her, she'll say those lines about Paimon and Traveller, which you might have seen in like pictures going around on the internet. But if you do her little quest, she'll bring you here to this book, and we read it and meditate. You end up here. I did say there were spoilers if you haven't done this already. Now, anybody who did the Summer Odyssey event with Fischl might find this place looks incredibly eerie, almost familiar. It looks a lot like Fischl's domain with the cracked sky. I mean, Fischl's domain didn't have the giant hole in it, which is reminiscent to the big hole in Samara's desert. But like the way there's towers and buildings and the way it looks makes me think when I entered here immediately of Fischl's domain. Another interesting fact that if you look through here, it's the chasm. That room down there, that's the chasm. Up here, that's the ceiling in the chasm. That is the little the little plinth that should be there. But this is the chasm room. I recognise it quite well. Quite familiar with this place. Spent many times. I'm always missing the little plinth in the centre. But otherwise, this is the chasm room. Pretty sure this is the room in the chasm. Anyway, yeah, it makes me think of Fischl's domain. Now, this entire storyline was interesting because they called this place the Apocalypse. This is the prophecy that the Ordo sees of the end of the world, and this is the recreation of what they see in that prophecy. It is nothingness. The world has been reduced to nothingness, and there's a giant hole in the sky. But our little friend here, Canotilla, what she saw in there is completely different. She saw a paradise, a place filled with trees and flowers, and she found it enchanting. She found it beautiful. It did not look the same for her as it did for us. And I actually believe I know the reason why. See this guy here? His name is Ilinas. He's a big old boy. Look at him. He's gigantic. So huge. And if you haven't done the world quest, he is the father to the Melanes. He's like 500 years ago, a bunch of people came to extract his blood and ended up getting into a big fight with guns and machines and stuff, which caused his insides to rip and tear and cogs and stuff to get into his system, and they give birth to the Melanes, giving forth life. Now, Elenos is a creature quite likely made by the same lady, Golddaughter, or whatever her name is. The same lady who made names. Duran? I think it's Duran. Made Dragon Boy from the mountain. The mother of Albedo. I'm sorry. If I was good at note taking, I'd know this. Golddaughter pretty sure Eleanor's is another one of her children, because he came about roughly the time of the Catalysm. Wow, I feel like I can hear my cat in this. Probably can hear her now in the background too, actually. He got slain, he died, and his blood formed the Melanies with when it was torn asunder. He is a creature from the abyss. He's a creature from outside of Teyvat. Which means I believe the reason why the Melanies see something different from us in that space is because they are viewing the other world. They are viewing the world in which Eleanise comes from. Because I think that's what that space is. I think it's the darkness. Now, I keep bringing up the book, The Pale Princess and the Six Pigsmies, but in it mentions the land of night and the land of light. I believe the land that space is the land of night. I think Eleanor's and the Mausolees come from the land of night, or it could be the land of light and we reside in the land of night. Not sure, but I think Teyvat quite plausibly, and people have been talking about this in theory videos last week or so, Teyvat was a split world with the light and the dark, these little thingies here, and they were split apart into two worlds. One being our world, the inhabitable world, and one being the world of darkness, where all these creatures keep being summoned from, like the Rift Hounds and Eleanise. And thinking on this in regards to Furina's trailer, I feel like now that it's quite possible that Teyvat was built in the land of night, and all its original inhabitants now have been shoved out of the land of night into a third world where they wish to return to this world. And I think what the Melanies saw was what this world should perhaps look like, because it's the apocalypse, right? It's our world, it's the world we're in currently. So what she sees is what our world should look like to her, because she and Eleanise should be a natural inhabitant of this world. And she's seeing the apocalyptic version of this world, how she believes our world should look. I don't think the Melanies see Teyvat like that currently. I don't think they've talked about it. I don't recall any of them speaking about it. I feel like we might get some more information from Sage Wind when she becomes playable. But yeah, I think off the back of Furina's trailer, remember in Furina's trailer at the very end, you see her. Let's get it up. So look at her. She's in the darkness. She's wearing this dark outfit. I think symbolizing that she is in the real world of darkness. She is in the realm of the dark, thus symbolized by her dark clothes and the dark imagery, and you've got this duality of worlds. I hope you get what I mean. I think this trailer points to and might confirm that Teyvat was built on what the dark realm was, and maybe the Night Mother, who is painted to evil in the story, but honestly the Night Mother could be the original ruler of Teyvat. I can't remember which one it is, or who was the first that came, but the Night Mother might be a reference to like the dragons or something, because in stories you never paint the bad guys or the people you're fighting as good people, do you? I don't know. It's a lot to like theorize about, and it's all allegories, and I suck with allegories. I don't know about you, but I feel like this trailer hints to that being in the Dark Realm, and the Melanies and that story quest points to Elena's and the Melanies originally being beings of the Night Realm, and what Goldrich might be trying to do is restore the original creatures to the Dark Realm to where they're supposed to live, because they have been banished to the Abyss. Or whatever. I'm not sure. No one's ever entirely sure with this game. We have like 30 minutes left on this video, and I've been recording for 40 minutes. So I feel like we've watched 20 minutes of it. This is like a quarter, I think, or something. I'm not good at maths. If you want to see the rest of this video and whatever other great insights I might have had in August in 4.0, let me know below. We can go over the rest. I think it's mostly talking about world quests and every random theory that pops into my head as I'm talking. I get off tangents so many times. This is why I didn't make it into a video, because I get so distracted for the rest of the video. I thought it was unwatchable. This part is quite cohesive, but when we get to the end, the rest of it stops being so much, and I didn't think it would make for a very good video. But if you do want to see my predictions of the future of Teyvat, let me know and we can watch the rest. I can't remember what I said, honestly, it was months ago. I hope you've enjoyed this. This was kind of fun. I know I didn't like comment too much, but I feel like what I had to say in August was kind of interesting, and some of it's on point. Yeah. Let me know what you think. I'm really hyped for the next Archon quest. What do I think's gonna happen? I don't know. I think Fontaine sunk, and I don't think it being sunk is necessarily a thing that we can fix. But I think we can fix the thing that ensures the Mirage of Fontaine continues to function, and thus, while the Fontainians might not be 100% real, we can ensure that they remain 120% real, which is a 3.5 D&D reference to illusion shadow mages, who are magic users who can create illusions that are so real that even the illusions think they're real, the people who interact with them are real, and they can exist and create families and merge with reality until reality itself thinks it's real, 120% real, which mathematically doesn't make much sense, but that's the mechanics of 3.5 for you. I'm getting off script again, I'm sorry. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in I guess on Thursday, or I'll see you on Friday, where we will be wishing for furina. I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. See you then in the next video. Goodbye.